So this year I say, let's be more like Jesus. We can do that, and it can be fun. We can hang out with sinners. That's number one. And since we in Unity see sin as nothing more than missing the mark, and we've all missed the mark, and we'll continue to miss the mark, if I may speak for myself, it includes all of us. 2, let's upset religious people. Sometimes it's good to upset ourselves. It helps us look at our convictions and see, why are they there? Do we really believe that? Does it apply today? Is that what I believe now? Tell stories, number 3. Tell stories with a message. Tell stories that uplift people, that give people hope, that inspire them. Number 4, choose unpopular friends. Include the excluded always. We are all one. There is no unpopular. Number 5, be compassionate, be loving, be kind, always. And the 6th, take naps in boats. I think that's wonderful guidance for all of us. Well, here we are. We're on our trip to Bethlehem, the trip to Bethlehem. This mythical, spiritual, inward journey to the greater expression of our Christ nature, of our Christ consciousness. This trip to Bethlehem is an interior journey. And we take this journey, we've been taking this journey over the last 3 weeks up to this week, to discover and to further develop our Christ selves, the divine within us, the Christ that is born in us, each one of us. It's already there. It's not to be sought, but to be strengthened and expressed. It's the best of ourselves. It's the most divine. It's the Buddha nature, you might say. So we are reminded that whatever our belief system is, whatever commandment or sutra or scripture, whatever practice, concept, idea, principle, whatever religion, spiritual or non-spiritual path we follow, we choose love. We choose love first and foremost. That is what unites all of us. Religious, non-religious, spiritual, non-spiritual, of all faiths, of no faiths, of all people. We choose love. And we've been following this path, this trip to Bethlehem, and we've been looking at the meaning behind the story so that we can place ourselves in that story. And I'm going to invite you this morning to go along on this journey with me, where we will need to engage our intellect, our mind, our thinking nature, because we're looking at meanings, both Hebrew and metaphysical, and to listen with our hearts, to have our hearts be wide open to possibilities. As many of the things that I speak today may ring so true for you that you want to embrace them into your heart. You want to move them from the intellect, from the thought, to this space, to reside there always. So Bethlehem, the trip to Bethlehem, literally means house of sustenance. It means house of living. And so metaphysically, we can see how this house of sustenance gives us all we need for that emerging Christ consciousness within us, that living, breathing Christ awareness, the divine within us. And since Jerusalem figures into this Christmas story 3 times, it's good to know that Jerusalem means habitation of peace. And we know that we need a peaceful state of mind for our spiritual practices, to develop those spiritual practices. And we all want to reside in that space of peace. It's a beautiful state of awareness, and it's a very high vibration. And when we're in that state of peace, life doesn't bother us quite as much. Now, Nazareth is where both Mary and Joseph lived. And Nazareth is just a small, undistinguished little village that literally means sprout or branch or offshoot. So we could see how metaphysically Nazareth could represent an innocence or a sprouting of Christ consciousness. And we see within our lives how this sprouting of Christ consciousness has occurred over and over and over again. It's never a one-time thing. Oh, the star. Because stars are in what we used to call the heavens above us, stars are always symbolized as coming from God, ideas of the divine rather than the human mind. So ideas that are inspired by our Christ selves. And the star that guided the wise men had a special meaning. It symbolizes both the idea of the indwelling Christ and the power of divine ideas that lead to its realization. The east, that's where the wise men came from, was the east, symbolizes that inner spiritual realm. And the gifts of the wise men, gold is the richness of spirit or spiritual wisdom. Incense is the presence of spirit. Frankincense is a symbol for holiness or purity, and myrrh symbolizes the eternity of spirit. And then there are the characters in this Christmas story. The angels, they always symbolize messages from God. The baby Jesus, both fully human and fully divine. And being a baby represents something new, a newness, a new idea, a new way of being. And the name Jesus in Hebrew literally means deliverance or savior or helper. Now Mary, she plays a key role. We see Mary as representing faith, absolute faith and purity, and all of the attributes that we align with the divine feminine, the nurturer, loving, the presence of spirit. And Joseph, his name signifies the process of evolution that enhances conscious awareness. And of course, all the male attributes that we recognize, the strength, the loyalty, the protectiveness, that power. The shepherds represent the forces within us that protect and guard. Guardians. Are we not all guardians? We are, of our thoughts and the loyalty that we feel for our dear ones. We are all guardians. It reminds me of the artwork we have displayed in the back of the room. Guardians, it's beautiful. Well, the wise men, of course, represent wisdom. And 3 of them represent the synthesis of wisdom. So when we place ourselves within this story, the story that we've heard forever, and that we hear again every Christmas season, when we place ourselves in the story and in each character and in each quality that's represented, it comes together to reveal the spiritual gifts that are ours, personally, individually. It's our nature, it's our divine nature. And we possess every one of these attributes. We possess all of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement, described 12 powers and more. We have all of them. We contain all of them at varying levels of expression, and that's where the work comes in, to recognize those that are not being as developed or well expressed as others, and to do that work so that we can be the expression of the divine in the more full way, the fullest way possible. That's what we came here to do, to express the divine as only we can do, as only you can do, through your personality, through your history, through your gifts, your sensitivity. So we came here to do and to be. Now we began with renunciation. The power of renunciation is also called the power of elimination. And preparing for the trip to Bethlehem, we had to decide what was not going to go with us. What were we not packing in our suitcase? What were we really willing to release? And being human as well as divine, there were several things probably that we wanted to leave out of our suitcase on this trip to Bethlehem, this trip to this inner awareness and inner consciousness. And that's part of our work. We release, it comes up again, we release, it comes up again, we release, we heal. We're human. We get wounds and bumps and bruises in this human experience. We recognize them and we heal them so that we're not carrying them around as a burden to fling on those who come within reach and push those buttons. We allow our trust in the power of renunciation to release all that doesn't work for us. Anything that's near and dear to you, you can always pick it back up later. And then we turn to the power of wisdom. We allow wisdom to guide us. We allow wisdom to guide us always. That beautiful wisdom of the ages that resides in your heart. To remember to turn within, to check our inner compass, for we all have one, and rely on the divine to lead the way. We have faith in this inner wisdom, and we were ready to begin the journey, the trip to Bethlehem, excited for what was to come, just as we're excited today for what is to come. The power of understanding begins with the transformation of consciousness, revealing our potential for grace. For it is this potential for grace that allows us to move away from rules and regulations, and that's how it's supposed to be done in tradition, and we have to do it this way, to let that go, to be a state of grace for those around us and open ourselves to greater understanding of holding that person in our heart. It's hard to hold a person in your heart when we're holding judgments and criticism. But grace is a tool that allows us to do that. And our gift of imagination, that plays a crucial role in any creative endeavor. And we are all creative beings. It took me a long time to realize that. We are all creative beings, and so the gift of imagination plays a very vital role. We have to imagine that our life can be different before we can take steps to move towards a new reality. We see this in our personal life, just as we see this in the life of our beloved community and all the changes that have occurred over the pandemic and emerging from that and moving forward with grace and with ease, a different way of doing church, of being church. For church is not a building. It's always the beloved community, always. And when we hold a space for something new, it gathers energy. When we hold a space for something new, it gathers energy, both mental and spiritual, and adds to the excitement and the wonder of what might be revealed, moving towards manifestation. Well, consider Mary. She allowed herself to imagine what the angel told her. And that divine guidance was going to inspire every step of the way, inspire her heart. The power of faith supported Mary in the days that followed, just as faith supports us when life happens. And life happens, doesn't it? Life happens, but we have the power of faith within us. When what appears to be facts are malleable, they're changeable, they're temporary. When we trust in the good, we have an unshakable faith. We have an unshakable faith in the perfect outworking of every situation, and it unfolds in ways we could never have designed or planned ourselves. And we have faith and release the need to guide or to know the outcome. Last Sunday we touched on the power of will. The power of will is the power to make a choice, to choose, to move from considering to actually making the choice, making the decision, big ones, small ones, all. And when we use that power of will, always turning to God first, we then have the guidance we need, the strength, the inner workings that we've been talking about, all those attributes within us to help us instead of knuckling it up in our human self to make the choice. We know this when we are aware of our journey. And there's not a moment on any day, at any time, that we are not on our journey, because that's our life. The journey is our life. We can't step off of it for a moment, even when we would like to. You can step off for a moment and go into meditation. But it's still our life, and it's still the journey. It's the air we breathe. It's every thought we think. And we honor this inner conviction of will, which guides us forward with power and with strength. We use the power of strength to keep us on the positive path and to not detour from it. Or, when we do detour from it, to return to that positive path, to persist with purpose. For when we're comfortable with who we are, who we came here to be, when we know our purpose, then the power of strength, that spiritual conviction, makes our way clear. And then there's the power of love. And that resides in that great space of wisdom, our heart. Divine love, Advent love, the love that surpasses understanding. The love that is unconditional and cannot really be fully grasped by the intellect. It needs our heart. It needs our heart. This love guides our way. It lights the path. It illumines all darkness. The heart understands and cherishes love, fully aware of the value and the power. Love transcends all. And we live with love, the love in our hearts as our guide. All of our actions are expressions of this divine love. We can be sure of that. Has there ever been a time when you said or you did something incredibly compassionate, generous, and loving, and you had this split second of where did that come from? Because you had no intention of saying or doing that? Good for you. You were open to the guidance of Spirit and let Spirit guide you. Then there's the power of order. This is our power to think and reason and choose wisely and to develop divine order in our lives. For order is the intelligence of the universe. The intelligence of the universe expressing as and through each one of us. You're proof of order, you and I. Order is mind, idea, expression, and we are all the expression of the divine. Order is the law of the universe. And there is a divine and perfect order to all things. And then the final three are power or dominion, zeal, and life. Well, the gifts of the Magi, the wise men, represent all the attributes of spiritual power. Gold is that enduring value of spiritual gifts. Frankincense symbolizes the potential for transmutation, which can purify and sanctify ordinary material life. And myrrh symbolizes the underlying serenity, peace, and bliss when immersed within our spirituality. The power of zeal as a spiritual faculty. Zeal acts in concert with all the other faculties and enables us to respond fully with inspiration from God. Zeal is our inner fire. That is our zeal. divine enthusiasm that motivates us to do whatever we must do to cooperate with that creative activity of God, to express our highest self, our most sacred self. And we see zeal expressed in this trip to Bethlehem. Mary carries forward with assurance, with an inner conviction, with the guidance received from the angel. Joseph receives inspiration in a dream and responds without hesitation. The wise men gladly and joyfully follow that star, and the way becomes easy. And then there's our 12th power, life. Life itself. As a spiritual power, this faculty of life directs the work of all the other faculties or expressions towards the full development of our higher self. And this Christ idea that we are designed to express can only be expressed through each one of us. We see this trip to Bethlehem teeming with life, the richness of spirit being poured out on every step. These gifts are ours, all of them. And we are meant to live the story, to live it fully, to live it out loud. The human and divine existence are not in conflict. They are in harmony. Our humanness allows us to live on this planet Earth, being manifest and walk around and breathe in these carbon suits. And our divine self reminds us there's more to life than the human condition, that we are equally divine, and we are. The trip to Bethlehem is our journey, a journey of rediscovery, of reawakening, of transformation. Each of us is an innkeeper, and we decide if there is room for spirit to express in our lives. The Christmas story is our story, one to embrace and one to live, and so it is. So it is. Thank you.